like this again. Oh, no, no, don't you cry.
Jamaica is one of the most popular tourist destinations in the Caribbean. Over 18,000 German tourists visit Jamaica every year, and thousands of other tourists from other areas of Europe and North America visit the beautiful beaches and tourist resorts within this lush tropical country. But many do not know that their own cultural heritage has been deeply rooted within the island for over 150 years, and can be discovered only a short drive from their hotels. Many never venture beyond the beaches, and are unaware of the country that lies beyond the tourist districts of Jamaica. A very short drive away from the tourist districts of Montego Bay will reveal a much different country that is removed from the coastline. The twisting, rugged, mountainous roads of Westmoreland are much less tamed and developed than its nearby tourist districts. This rural area reveals a place with a beauty and a world all of its own. It is a very mountainous place, and is almost impenetrable in some areas. It was a place where escaped slaves would hide from the British slave masters and form communities deep in these mountains, finding security in the cover of this uncultivated, rugged land. Like other rural areas of Jamaica, this quiet, peaceful place is a less developed and cultivated land when compared to its urban neighbours. It is a place where most people live off the land and depend on farming to survive. But deep in these mountains lies a small 500-acre village that is one of the most unique villages in all of Jamaica. Seaford Town, known to many Jamaicans as Germantown, was founded in 1835 and was a German settlement. This village has retained elements of its German heritage that have lived on to this very day. At first glance, Seaford Town looks no different than any other village in Westmoreland. It is quiet, lacks development, and has little commerce and activity. Many homes lay vacant and in decay due to a mass exodus that has taken place in the village. But when one inspects this village more closely, this area has distinctions that make it unique. German designs exist within many of the homes, and family names like Grasskopf and Hacker are not uncommon. These old German homes sometimes date back to the 19th century and were erected by a group of German immigrants who took root in the country in the mid-1830s. Some of the German-descended families who still live in these homes can be found here as well. These people, known by many Jamaicans as the Germans, can be found in the village of Seaford Town, but are becoming a very rare sight. At first glance, they can be mistaken for tourists, but these people are in fact Jamaican citizens that were born and raised in the country. They are well assimilated and know the local culture just as well as any other Jamaican. Though these people are Jamaicans in every regard, they have a unique story to tell within the fabric of Jamaican culture. Some of the older generation of this Jamaican German community can shed light on how this community was formed.
Hacker. My name is Delroy Hacker. I am of German ancestry. I'm about the fourth or fifth generation of the Germans that came here then in 1834, 1835.
Small graves from the original German settlers can be found throughout Seaford Town. Many of these Germans died within the first 5 years of their arrival, cut down by malnutrition and tropical diseases like malaria, yellow fever, and many other maladies that they were not previously accustomed to. Names like Sommers, Clinance, and Eldermeyer are on the tombstones of these 19th century graves. Though many of these Germans died, a small number overcame the odds and survived the harsh conditions they were living in, and their bloodlines have lived on into modern times. In this black majority nation, most Jamaicans know little of this German history. The people of the current Jamaican German community are almost like ghosts within the country. They are a legend of sorts that some only see on occasion with a passing glance.
No, don't know about the German houses, but there are normally German people living here.
I heard that from my grandmother. I don't know how true it is. I've never actually met one and asked questions, but I have heard from a few elder persons that they're actually Germans.
You get right amount already. Check them out.
While most Jamaicans are unaware of the exact circumstances of this Jamaican-German community's genesis, the lineal descendants are often as equally unaware as their African-descended fellow countrymen.
I know a little, but I don't know much. I can give you a little.
I think we have we up to now we have never really connect the right truth.
Right.
Or the whole truth.
There's a mystery about
yes,
the whole thing.
It's a mystery. I think so.
I don't know. I have no idea. It is sad, actually, but that's as far as we know. We are fifth generation German. He's fourth.
Who are these people known as the Germans? Why do so few know the circumstances of the creation and history of this community? Why is it such a secret? These people who are a part of this community, known by most as shopkeepers, farmers and fellow Jamaicans, are filled with a curiosity of their own origins and have questions that have never been revealed to them. What was this village before it became so similar to every other rural village in Jamaica, and why does it even stand? The first hint can be found in a faded painting of a boat in Seaford Town. The boat was called the Albers and was the same boat that took the first Germans to the island of Jamaica. The 19th century was a time of hardship for many people within Germany. War had ravaged much of Europe, and the less economically advantaged people of Germany were facing hardship and poverty. Thousands made their way to the New World in hopes of building new lives with better opportunity. In the 1830s, Jamaica was going through extreme changes. The African slave populace was being used by the British plantation systems to drive their economy. These slaves were becoming emancipated and finding new freedom within the island of Jamaica. Many of the African-descended people of the island were moving into a new way of life with new freedoms. But the Germans were finding their way into a new life of different hardships. Many historians feel that the Germans who came to Jamaica were used as substitute slaves, known as indentured servants. These were people who volunteered to a contract of labour without pay for a period of 8 years, and in return they were promised a portion of land that they could work. Most of the former slaves refused to work the fields, so the British plantation system found a new way to continue their system of free labour.
Remember, it was emancipation, So the slaves were free. They didn't want to work. So they had to go elsewhere for the Chinese and the Germans and wherever they could find people who would work for little and nothing.
Right.
But as you can see here, this man here, William Lamonas, Dr. William Lamonas, he was a Persian by birth, and he was the one that made up this fairy tale about gold line in the streets and on the tree and in the hill. That story and said, boy, they were having a bad time over there also. So if they come here, they would have a better life for they and their family, only to come in a worse situation.
You see, in the early days, the first government hired 2 agents, one Limonius and one Myers. And they went up to Germany and got these people interested. And when they came, they told him a lot of lies up there, how Jamaica was beautiful, it was so easy to live in Jamaica, and you have to worry about things to live by in Jamaica. But when they came, they found it was different. In the early days, when this 500 acre that was given by Lord Seaford to the Germans that came here, it was all German family inside the 500 acres. And when when they came, most of them died because this area was a swamp and forests and mosquitoes and what other. So most of them died from diseases like malaria, yellow fever, and other diseases. And they were living over there, over in just across. There's a big river that runs there, and they lived across the river. And they came over here. They call over there Old Town, and they call over here now New Town.
Some records have been kept thanks to several Catholic priests such as Father Francais and Father Kemple, who moved to Seaford Town. They serve this devoutly Catholic community, and some remnants of this story have been preserved, telling the story of the 1,210 Germans that settled in Jamaica. It was said that the homes given to these Germans were no different than the ones that the former African slave populace lived in, and that they were given very meagre rations, one of the reasons so many died of malnutrition. Seaford Town was not the only German settlement in Jamaica. Several other German townships within the island were formed, but they did not thrive as many of the Germans died and faced serious maladies. These other settlements failed, and many of the surviving Germans made their way to Seaford Town, a 500-acre village given to Germans who were struggling to survive. The motivations that led the landowner Lord Seaford to give the Germans this land is unclear, but it is thought he was attempting to create a buffer zone between his plantations and the raiding former slave populace that would steal supplies from plantations to survive. While the other regions that had a German presence dwindled out, the surviving members of these communities made their way to Seaford Town, and this small settlement became a beacon of hope and a base for the last living German migrants and their island-born children. Though some historians feel that they came as indentured servants, many members of the Jamaican German community feel that their ancestors did not come as servants, but under different circumstances.
No way. No, that is not. Well, Father Francis did a lot of study on it, and he never told us. What he told us was they came here as they're like refugees. They didn't come as no slaves.
That's why I said to you, I heard this story, that they all came as criminals,
He was a German prince, and he ran away to Montego Bay. And he ended up in Montego Bay, and he was to flee to one house by the name of Brown. That's where he got that name, Brown, because he was to change his name. But I can send you to where this person is, that they took him in and hid him for a couple of weeks. And they came back here to hunt him down, but they didn't find him. So he and his soldiers live in Seaford Town here.
My father's ancestor, Wilhelm Engelbert Braun, was a German, and he arrived in Jamaica in the 1830s. He was a soldier in the Prussian army, and he came to Jamaica in the wave of Germans that was coming to Jamaica in the 1830s on the Albers ship. He moved to Seaford Town in 1839 because he was recaptured. He was supposed to be sent back to Germany to finish serving his time in the army, and he fled. And a woman called Susan Brown in Montego Bay put him up in Grove Hill Great House. They saved him and hid him from the Germans who were trying to take him back to Germany. And she told him about Seaford Town.
Though many different theories are circulating about the origins of the Jamaican German migration, many look at this town and wonder, what makes it warrant the then name German Town? What is so unique about this tiny village tucked away in the mountains of Westmoreland? What German culture and heritage lives on here? What, aside from German names and physical features amongst the people, can be found here? And what, aside from old decaying homes, can be found of German cultural heritage? Like anywhere else in Jamaica, it is a village that has Rastafarians, reggae music, and a black African descended majority. The same activities enjoyed here are the same as they are in any other rural village. Children play in the streets, and people spend their time fishing and farming to make their way. But prior to the 1970s, Seaford Town was a white majority village where most all of the residents were of direct German lineage.
But I told that if you were to come here like 40s, late 40s, 50s, when I was going to the school there, it would be like you go to a school in Germany. Bare white, little white children. Now they were poor, but they couldn't afford to wear shoes and things like that. They were barefooted and things. But it was all white children in the school.
In the 19th century, Jamaica was a place that was segregated, and racial relations between whites and blacks were greatly strained due to the days of slavery. Jamaica had faced several rebellions by the former slave populace, and the new Germans who came to this island were thought to be in a state of culture shock. Most had never even seen a black person prior to their arrival in Jamaica. They lived a very isolated life in the mountains of Jamaica, and many rarely ever left Seaford Town. A few of the very old Jamaicans of German heritage still carry an isolationist mentality.
They flock together. You're not mixed?
No, mixed of German, French.
Okay.
With
it's the same white people.
Right.
Right? The same white people. Right?
Yes.
Because my mother have a touch of Irish in her. Okay? But don't ever mix, darling. Here?
We feel that our people should stay white.
Yeah. Yes.
Why is it so important to you, though?
It never works. It never works, darling. Never works.
Did you feel that the colour people are so much different in the sense?
Yes. Yes. Because we have them here now. The boys take up the girls and they just, a few days are gone, leave them.
Right.
They're gone.
They didn't want to mix the races and water down the bloodline. They wanted to continue to preserve the bloodline. So they would marry each other. And if you notice, some of them are even blind or deaf because of that.
Yes, because when they came here first, they didn't want to intermix. So you find them married to first cousins, second cousins, something like that. So you find that you may have children that can't talk or hear.
Right.
Mute children.
Though the older generations refused to marry into black families and kept an all-white community, this has changed greatly in the last 50 years. Seaford Town is now a village where all Jamaicans of all different racial backgrounds can be found. The majority of the Jamaican German community is open and accepting of all different people of all different ethnic heritage.
I have no problem with black or white here. I have problem with black and I have problem with white. And I have no problem with black and I have no problem with white. You understand what I'm saying?
When the Germans went away, they had to intermix because you didn't have any more fair-skinned people for them to marry to, so you find they start to marry to Asian and African descent. So you have chocolate babies. So you find that people in Seaford Town with chocolate color now, right, that they have the names of the Germans like Kamika, Groskop, Kleinans, and things like that.
One of the main reasons why people of Jamaican German heritage have become an increasingly rare sight is due to an exodus that started in the 1950s and continues to this day. People of Seaford Town have been looking for a way out of the poverty and hardship that they have faced for so many years.
Because now I'm trying to go to Canada. Because I have no one here. All my children and grandchildren are in Canada. Now, our son was living here with me, and he died.
The most popular place of migration for the people of Seaford Town has been Canada, where many continue their community in cities and towns across Ontario. They have been able to find a better standard of living and have been able to use their crafts and talents to make a better life for themselves.
I think it's strictly because, they could make money, with a better lifestyle for them, to leave Seaford Town. Because as you know, you've been there, you can't make a decent living there.
This exodus has left Seaford Town stripped and barren, and has left many of the remaining members of the community with a sense of loss and yearning for the old days. The Jamaican German community has always been a community that has mainly survived on farming, but Jamaican agriculture has suffered greatly since the 1980s. Many Jamaican farmers have not been able to maintain a good standard of living with all of the obstacles that they are faced with. As the people of Jamaican heritage continue to migrate to places outside of Westmoreland, more and more have found success in many different fields, and one Jamaican of German heritage, named Ruth Ann Brown, has been making a name for herself in the reggae music scene.
Well, I started singing on the church choir back in the day. That is where I got my first lessons in the church, and I started singing reggae music in 2005, and right now I've been working with Brand New Entertainment and my manager Rick Zerone for the last, call it almost 5 years now.
The community continues to go abroad to find more industrialised places to live and work, where jobs are more available and higher paying. The remaining community has their own feelings on this exodus.
I love my race, and I love other races too, but in a Seaford Town, our race is like dying out.
Right now I would say about 30, maybe not as much, in Seaford Town, or maybe in Jamaica.
As the exodus continues and the older generations continue to die out, this community seems to be on the verge of extinction, with less than 50 people who are of direct Jamaican German lineage. Some of the Jamaican German community takes issue with the exodus and feels it has had negative side effects on their community.
What surprises me is that they were baptized, confirmed, everything in the church, and they go away. And when they come back, they don't believe that there's a God. This is my problem. I could never understand that.
One thing that has made Seaford Town distinct is its Catholic roots and heritage, originally brought by their German ancestors. This faith was something that bound the community together for many years and has remained an important element with the Jamaican German history and contemporary life of Jamaican German people. But like so many other cultural elements in Seaford Town, this too is something that is now fading away.
When I was a child growing, there was a lot of Catholics here. Now it's only few, because there's so much religion that rise up now, that people break apart.
Many people may look at Seaford Town and wonder why it is called Germantown. What makes it German, aside from family names and old buildings? The people of Seaford Town have the same questions and a feeling of sadness that so much of their ancestors' heritage and culture has been kept from them.
We lost our heritage, we lost our language. We didn't do much as German in Seaford Town. We adapt whatever the country was teaching us on how to survive.
I would be very glad if I could speak German. Then I could teach my children to speak German. But you know, it's funny because sometimes you go some places and you see some people and them say, "You're from Germantown?" I say, "Yes." They said, speak some German for us, no? I said, "Boss, I don't know nothing." So it's about that. It's really depressing.
To sprechen Dutch gut. If I was around there, I could show you my assimil and my dictionary. English to German, German to English, and the assimil now teach you, learn German without toil, right? So it's from German to English. But what happened now, eh? Have anybody to give me the pronunciation?
My sister went to German and had any people who was teaching German language. But all those things done of it.
You hard to win away, you understand how we are young generation.
Yeah. You can learn.
Hard to
you can
win.
learn. Right? But it's fall apart, I don't know why.
We should get back in touch with our roots. And then we know our roots. But you know, it's all hidden away.
One of the most impressive elements of the German heritage that remains are the wooden homes built by the early families of Seaford Town, with distinct German features that have stood the test of time and are still in use to this day. But sadly, like so many other cultural elements of the German heritage, this too is fading away. Many of these homes have become abandoned and are now falling apart. Some of the Seaford Town's community has become very saddened to see these historic landmarks fall into such devastation, but one member of the community, Jude Gardner, has continued the tradition and has been building new structures with German influence.
That's the way they used to build houses here. Like they would use the boards set them different way, and they do a lattice work on the front.
And you see, they always put their houses not to south. For what? Hurricanes, and they never make any flat roof. The wind, the breeze, the hurricane will take it off. Doesn't trouble this. This goes to Gilbert, Ivan, the whole lot of them right down the line. Never pull a nail. Never pull a nail.
Though so much cultural heritage has faded, other elements have survived. In some cases, the people of Seaford Town are not even aware that these cultural elements are in fact German.
Worse. In those days we call them worse.
People used to make this, you
Oh,
said?
yeah.
Did you know that is a German food?
No, I didn't know that was a German food. I didn't.
So your grandmother made that, she would make sauerkraut. What would she call it? You know what she called it, sauerkraut?
I don't know what she called it.
She never taught no one to make it?
No, she never did.
As this heritage dies out, certain members of the community have taken steps to preserve the history and story of the Jamaican Germans. Attempting to pass down the history to younger generations, a museum has been built in the village that shows a written and pictorial history on the migration and lives of the early German community of Jamaica. The museum also has artefacts passed down from some of the original German families. Programs like these have enriched the community and instilled some members of the community with a sense of pride in their heritage.
When I was told about my history, I feel proud. I feel good. And I feel good to know that I'm the one that is carrying on the museum and the little history that is there around us, you know. I feel good. I like my job.
Many people of Jamaican German heritage have not abandoned their roots and feel a connection to their fatherland.
Come and show me this. I want to tell me about this here. Who's your favorite football team? That's my next question.
Germany.
You support Germany?
Of course.
Alright.
Always.
But when Jamaica's playing,
Germany.
it's still Germany.
Germany. Still Germany. I always wonder, like, why can't I speak German? Why don't I know much about the German culture? So what I know is what I hear from my parents or what I go on the internet and research.
To some, the history of Seaford Town is the biggest mystery that they wish to unlock. But many other people feel it is best to embrace what Seaford Town is today, and the distinctions that many members of the community have in this day and age. One of those distinctions is their love for country and Western music.
Yeah, Jamaican on a whole, but the Germans, we like country and Western.
Yeah, I love country and Western. You know, guitar and banjo and rumba box is the sweetest music.
It's coming, it's rolling round the bend,
and I ain't seen the sunshine
since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison while I keep rolling by.
Because it's a storytelling genre, you know. It's very comforting, and it's a storytelling drama, and yeah, I think that's why I like it that much, because of the stories that are involved in it and the feeling that country music gives you. It's a very good feeling, you know, an old feeling, but it makes you feel like you belong in a community. That's how it feels, country music.
Some members of the community still remember some variations of German folk songs.
The background is No Woman No Cry. So the Auf Wiedersehen is the German song pertaining to that beat.
Do it again for me.
One thing that can be said for the people of Jamaican German heritage are their abilities as repairmen, mechanics and engineers. Many are proficient with mechanical work, but few have ever been schooled in their trades and skills. They believe these skills were passed down to them from their ancestors.
Because they were skillful people. They were very good at their hands, you know, by building things to themselves and try to create things for themselves, you know.
Well, yeah, what I can tell you, there are skillful people, skillful with their hands, and they are hard-working people.
Down here, in Seaford Town here, it's a gift. It seems like it's a gift. Because we don't have to go to school to do carpentry. We don't, not even mechanic. We don't even have to go to school to do mechanic work. To be honest with you.
It's like it burning them. Just burning them down the line. Just naturally burning them.
Very old. It's the Germans that had built it. And all those walls were built by the Germans. All these walls that you're looking at. They would carry the stones on their heads and build these walls.
There are many mysteries that the Germans who came to Jamaica have buried with them, and many of their lineage have questions and curiosities that may never fully come to light. Many of these people have a sense of almost being cheated by the first Germans.
I would talk to them about Germany, how was Germany back then, and I'd like to learn some of the language and maybe even get some recipes of the food.
Why did Germany allow that set of Germans to leave Germany to come to Jamaica?
How did we lose our heritage? Why we don't speak the language?
Me ask them why they come here.
I rather leave on the first place.
Why they come here? Me ask them why they come here. And why they left us so poverty.
First I'd ask them why they came out here, the purpose, and I'm asking them why they did not continue with the traditions, teach their children that their heritage could continue.
The Germans who came to Jamaica seem to have much in common with the early pioneers of North America. They lived humble lives, worked hard, and lived off the land. The people of Seaford Town continue this tradition of growing their own food, and many of them feel a connection to the land passed down to them from their ancestors and have a skill when dealing with agricultural matters. When people from the Jamaican German community leave their villages and come into contact with people from places like Europe and North America, they are often seen as strange. Most outsiders refuse to believe they are part of the Jamaican culture.
I went to a water park in Negril called Cool Runnings Water Park, and I was in the pool with some Americans. And why are you here? Are you a tourist? I said no. But you look American. I said no, I'm Jamaican. You are a Jamaican? You're a liar. I said yes, I am a Jamaican. And then they said I'm a liar, and then they swam away. They didn't want to talk to me. They said I was a liar.
The tourists will ask me, which nation belongs to, where are you from? I say, hey, I'm from right here. I say, you're white. How come you're from here? I say, look, listen, I am a Jamaican. Laugh. Some of them don't understand it, and they ask the tour guide, and ask me, what do you mean? They say, hey, I'm a born German Jamaican. I say, oh, that's why you say you're a Jamaican. It's a joke with them, man.
I saw a psychiatrist one time, okay?
Right.
Not because I'm crazy, but because I got in trouble, right? I go over there and the man said to me, he said, you got a lot of answers to give me. First of all, he was amazed that Trevor Bunneman comes in here, he's from Jamaica. He knows my files, but he doesn't know the guy. Oh, he's a white man. So as soon as I come in, he says, you got a lot of answers to give me. I said, well, you ask the questions, I give the answers. He says, first question, how come you're white? This is a psychiatrist, this war renowned, how come you're white? I said, well, that's the easiest answer I'll give you all day. My mother's white, my father's white. What do you want me to be?
People of Jamaican German heritage not only find it hard to relate to outsiders at times, but on some occasions it can be a challenge to find acceptance from their fellow countrymen. Jamaica is a country that prides itself as being a black majority, and when people of German background venture out of their villages and towns, some can face stigmas and stereotypes that can create feelings of isolation and frustration.
I was born in Jamaica, and if they do not believe me, or they say try to speak like one of us, I would do that to convince them that yes, I am a born Jamaican. They said sometimes it does, and sometimes they'll just say, I'm just trying something, or I'm just putting on a show for them.
They haven't read the history. They don't know. They won't believe, you know, because they think that Jamaica is a black country. They're not sure that whites were here except for the English, you know, who was the slave masters.
And in Jamaica, they only think that it is only black people that really was born here, and have the right to live here.
The misconceptions that people of European heritage can face in Jamaica are rooted back to the days of slavery in the 18th to 19th century, when horrific and cruel treatment was rendered upon people of African heritage by the colonial British plantation system, and this has not been completely forgotten. Though the Germans who migrated to Jamaica were not a part of the slavery that existed under the British, many people in the country do not bother to even distinguish the German history from the British history, and racial divisions and colour lines have affected the people of Jamaican German heritage in the past, and even into more recent times.
It's a mentality.
White skin means money.
Yes, that's their mentality.
Right.
Once you are white, you're supposed to be rich, because what they call them, the colonial people, they were white people and they were rich. And they would work the black people and put the money in their pockets. So they think that we are the same.
Right.
This is why a lot of people don't like white people in some areas when you go, because they say that we had enslaved them.
And it's very difficult in school because most people they would want to fight me and say white people are this and white people are that, and they're very racist. And it's very hard for me to go to school, but it also inspires me to do well and try to get out of that, to try and do well.
It's like now in Jamaica, you know, the colored man said it's his time now. The white man have to stay aside and make him survive, because it's his time now. That's what the black man is saying in Jamaica right now.
I was in a confrontation with a man in a taxi one day, because he told me that I don't like white people, you know, because white people are prostitutes. And they are done. And uno fi dead, because that uno slave with 4 parents. Mr. Man, you need to go back and read your history. And you will know that we were also slaves. Not in the sense that we were wearing shackles and chains, but we were slaves. And that shut him up.
I said, man, our motto is out of many one people. We have many nations here. We don't have, all of us are Jamaicans, but we have all different colors here. So when you say that, I don't know what you're talking about. Go and think about your motto.
And I just feel sorry for all those people who are being racist. And I don't know, I just feel sorry for them. And even though they would be very mean to me, I would just feel sorry for them and would still try to help them.
Though there have been colour lines and racial tensions within Jamaican society, many Jamaican whites of German heritage and many Jamaicans of African and Asian heritage live harmoniously in Jamaica and have built strong bonds and friendships with their fellow countrymen, and the Jamaican German descendants have earned their place in Jamaican society. In this day and age, most Jamaicans accept them as true Jamaican nationals.
No, that's the point. You have some persons who are black and yet they're English. So I normally don't judge persons by their skin color.
I really don't know how they came to Jamaica, but it's a good feeling having them around.
Nestled in the cool hills of Westmoreland, here two folks sometimes don't get along, but just to find for some reason, it's held strong. As the motto says, out of many we are one. We are a small community of so many different qualities. The dressmakers, tailors, bakers and builders too. Farmers and technicians, just to name a few, it's held strong. As the motto says, out of many we are one. Early in the morning, the community starts to rumble with activity. The schooler, the drivers and conductors too rush out to get a taste of the early morning dew. As the days go by, you may hear a few small kids cry. Black and yellow, red and brown, mixed together with the white folks of Seaford Town. It would be fun to come around and learn a bit more about this place called Seaford Town. Oh, so that's why it's held strong, for as the motto says, out of many people we are one. Yeah.
Those who remain in this once all-German enclave stay for many reasons, but one reason that keeps some is their love for the land they own. Often it is no more than 30 to 50 acres, but they and their ancestors have worked the soil for many years, and many feel wedded to this land they have toiled over for so long, and they take great pride in their lives as farmers.
So me weed in, I just come through and spray, go right through. Yeah, when I come back and now me just chop out them and so. Yeah man, I go touch them now in a week, yeah. I touch through the breeze when they blow, you know. Touch them, send down the spray now. Alright, come we go, we can't feel now. Alright. Hey, the sweetest thing in life, you see, is when you're eating and you take up your food, you know everything you produce. You don't have to worry, I'll say, I wonder if a man sprayed this with chemical, I wonder if he put too much fertilizer. You eat a natural thing.
I tell people, they say, when you're ready to go from Jamaica, I said, you know, the first I'll ever go from Jamaica is if I climb a fucking tree. I don't even want to fly from Montego Bay to Kingston. Jamaica is so free. Look. The police can pass. No, I wouldn't show it to him, but it wouldn't really bother him. In Canada?
Though some of the community is content with farming and living off the land, others who have not yet left long for a different world and feel trapped in this village and long for the times of days gone by.
If I could get away, I would stay here.
It's deteriorating every day more and more.
So what is left to say about the people of this region? They have weathered the test of time, and it has not been at all an easy ride. But through self-reliance, hard work and determination, they carved out a life for themselves that has lasted to this very day, and a glimmer of the German heritage has lived on.
Because they are coming from a very far way. Coming here from Germany. Don't even speak the language. In a strange country. In a strange land. Where all you have is a few people that come with you from your same background. Coming facing a different background, different skin color, different food. You name it, you know. And to see how far they had come from, and to see now that they are marrying each other, you know that there's a bond, you know, from coming from all the way from 6th generation.
Bye.